It's that time of year in the North Country where the lakes are losing the ice, and for us, that means it is panfish time. In fishing in recent years, there have been tons of innovations, particularly in different lures that we use for pan fishing. Hard baits have really come on the scene. Of course, we've got just a tremendous amount of plastics available, but there's a piece of equipment that, besides the lure, I really think will help you catch more panfish this year and anytime you go out pan fishing, not just in the spring. So when I grew up, I'm sure like many of you, the panfish equipment that you had was a 4.5 to 6 foot ultralight rod with a 500 size reel spooled with 4-pound mono. When you would set the hook, you could feel the rod bend into the handle of the reel seat. The line was stretchy. It just was really not the best equipment to be fishing for panfish, especially around cover. That's obviously changed today. We've got panfish rods now that are for specific presentations even. We've got reels that are much better, and of course lines. So I'm going to share with you the rod, reel, line setup that I think is amazing and has really changed pan fishing. I'll start with the rod. Now, for the most part, I'm fishing longer rods, 7 foot to even 9 foot in some situations, but a lot of the stuff that's in like that 7 foot to 7'3" is my sweet spot. But the deal with these rods is, one is the action of the rod. So these new rods with extra fast actions do a couple of things. One, they do allow you to throw baits really far. You still get that load in the tip where you can throw baits really far, but additionally, if you like fishing baits like I love fishing the small X-Wrap in the spring, that extra fast tip is what you need to get the bait to dart and hop and hunt, really the key triggering aspects of that lure. It's also great for when you're fishing around cover. If you do happen to get snagged on a weed, you're not trying to snap it off and having the entire rod flex, which ends up just getting you the weed rather than just breaking free. Moving on to the reel, larger reels, in my opinion, are just much better for pan fishing. I'm not talking about huge reels, but stuff in the 1,000 to 2,000 size is really the way to go. First of all, you get better line management with a bigger spool, and additionally, those bigger spools often provide a lot better drag as well. So anytime you're out pan fishing in the spring or whenever, you're more than likely going to run into a big bass or a big pike or something like that. And having a drag that's smooth with really light line is going to allow you to catch a lot more of those fish. So bigger reel definitely. And then this is the biggest piece of the puzzle to me, and that is the line. The line that I've got spooled on here, this is Suffix Nano Braid in 6-pound test. This stuff to me is revolutionary. Now it's light line in terms of pound test, but it's also light in the weight or the density of the line. It's really, really nothing to it. It's almost like a spider web. There's nothing to it. And that's what allows those baits to throw a really long distance. So this bigger spool combined with that longer rod and the extra fast tip and this really light line allows you to throw a little micro bait like this, a 32nd ounce jig. You can bomb this stuff a mile. And if you're fishing panfish in the spring, they're gonna be shallow, they're gonna be spooky, and the further you can be away from the fish, the greater the odds that you'll be able to catch them. As Jimmy would say, a real Leech Lake special. So overall, this is absolutely a dynamite system, and I feel has really improved the odds of me catching fish. Now, the other thing is the longer rods for, say, cork fishing. Everybody that fishes panfish does a little bit of cork fishing in the spring, and especially with like fixed floats like I've got on here, where you're doing those lob casts. This is a 7'3", same type of setup, but it's the same thing with that longer rod. I'm able to throw the bait further. I don't get the same tumbling and fouling that you might get with throwing shorter rods where you might have to put a lot more snap into it that's getting that whole system to tumble. With the long rod, you can do a nice lob cast and everything lays out really nice and you're not constantly getting tangled. So this is my opinion that if you want to up your game in pan fishing, take advantage of the new technology that's out there. Look for rods with extra fast actions that are a little bit longer, go with a bigger size reel. And seriously, look at that lightweight line. That 6-pound nano braid is absolutely revolutionary. And one more thing I'm going to add about this line that I've heard people complain about is one that it breaks really easy. So that is true. It's a yes and no deal. The nano braid does not have good shock strength. And what I mean by that is if you were snagged on a piece of wood or a bulrush or whatever it might be, and you try to break the snag out by snapping it, that line will pop. However, if you pull on that same snag, you can almost straighten the hook every time on that. So it's got tremendous pulling power. However, it does lack shock strength. So keep that in mind when you're fishing this type of line. And I hope this information was helpful. I hope it helps you catch more panfish this spring. And if you enjoy this type of content, please like, subscribe, comment below, and we will see you next week on the same channel.